Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to spend them with me. I'm always humbled and very grateful that people want to listen to the things that I have gone through or the things that I have learned, because they've helped me so much, and I hope they can help you too. And thank you for listening. Today's show is You Are What Your Bacteria Eat. And this kind of sounds like a science fiction movie, but deep within our gut is an entire ecosystem, which is affecting both our cravings and the moods, the way we feel, and they get us to eat what they want. These special microbes inside of us determine what we're going to eat. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. Some of these microbes that are deep in our ecosystem want fats, and others want sugars. And they fight for nutrients. And they do this so they can stay alive and dominate our guts by sheer numbers alone. They influence our decisions by releasing signal molecules into our gut. And since the gut is the second brain and linked to our immune system and the endocrine system and the nervous system, these signals influence our behavioral responses and our psychological responses. So let's face it. We all know we should eat healthy. There isn't anybody on the planet who doesn't know that. And you have to be living under a rock to not know that we should eat more fruits and vegetables, because everybody knows that. Well, the bacteria in your gut is a huge part of who you are. You're 99% microbial, more than cells in your body. And more than anything else, what you feed those trillions and trillions of microbes will greatly affect your life and your mood every day. Carlo Mali, PhD, director of the UCSF Center for Evolution and Cancer, says, bacteria within our guts are very, very manipulative. There is a diversity of interest represented in our microbiome, and some are aligned with our own dietary goals, but then others are not. And fortunately, it is a two-way street. We can influence the compatibility of the microscopic single-celled house guests that make us their home by deliberately altering what we ingest. And Dr. Malley said, we can see measurable changes in the microbiome within 24 hours of diet change. And now they've even made that smaller. Now they believe that it can happen at one meal. Our diets have a huge impact on our population of microbes in our gut. It's a whole entire ecosystem, and it's evolving on the time and scales of minutes per day for whatever you're eating that day. It's changing constantly. And it's interesting to me how much it can change from just ingesting one meal. And if you don't believe me, then you need to start trying and see for yourself what happens when you change your diet. And I found this really interesting, that people who are in Japan have a specialized bacteria in their guts that, for instance, people in America don't have. And it digests seaweed. And it's found mostly in people in that area where seaweed is so popular in their diet. And it's very unique to them. This bacteria is very unique to them. But their microbes adapted and multiplied because of the diet they ate, because they all ate a lot of seaweed. And so they developed this special bacteria that's really specialized for them. And I think that's really interesting, how our bodies adapt to the things that we eat. One of the cool ways that molecules can affect our moods and gut is through the vagus nerve. And I've talked about this in many broadcasts. And it's something you guys really need to get familiar with, because the vagus nerve connects 100 million nerve cells, and it starts from the digestive tract and goes all the way up to the base of the brain. And Dr. Atkins, who is currently in the Arizona State University Department of Psychology, says, microbes have the capacity to manipulate behavior and mood through altering the neural signals in the vagus nerve. And it can change taste receptors, it can produce toxins to make us feel bad, and it can release chemical rewards to make us feel good. And you can easily change or manipulate bacteria that resides with you by prebiotics, probiotics, or cultured foods, and even antibiotics and dietary changes will all change this bacteria that resides within our gut. Now, this isn't just research to me. I've really lived this in my own personal life. And I do it all the time. I manipulate my own diet to change food cravings. And I can get my food cravings to change in less than a day. And it's pretty profound. And it's really fun to do this because then you start to feel like you have dominion over your own body. And you're not just at the mercy of food cravings and strong impulses to eat foods that aren't good for you. And cultured foods have had a huge impact on how I feel and what I craved. But when I combine them with prebiotic foods, which is fiber and food for bacteria, I was shocked at how much control this gave me. I mean, everybody, like I said earlier in this broadcast, everybody knows fruits and vegetables are good for you. And most of those are prebiotic foods. There's some that are not, but they're mostly prebiotic foods. There's certain specific ones. And if you want to know which ones they are, I encourage you to go to my website at culturedfoodlife.com and put in the word prebiotic, and it'll show you not only the foods that are prebiotic that help feed our microbiome, but how much they affect our microbiome, which ones are stronger and which ones aren't. And it's interesting because there are certain foods that have changed my bacteria and food cravings pretty dramatically. And you might be surprised by some of these foods that have done this. Vegetables, everybody knows we should eat more vegetables, but especially greens are a huge source of fiber for our microbiome. They're also anti-inflammatory. And the foods that are really strong for the bacteria in your gut, and they're better than others, are foods, these vegetables are foods like beets, carrots, celery, broccoli, and in broccoli, the stalks are really big prebiotic fibers in them, more than the florets part. And the bacteria goes crazy for these foods, things like onions and jicama and garlic and artichokes. They all feed the microbiome very, very powerfully, stronger than most other vegetables. And your bacteria kind of goes crazy for these foods. And I love to make garlic. I love to ferment my garlic. And lately I've been doing a garlic and honey. And basically all you do, and this recipe's on my website, but all you do is you peel garlic, you put it in a jar and you cover it with honey and you let it ferment. And you can keep it in your counter for 6 months. The antibacterial qualities of honey, but there keeps it, preserves it, makes it safe, and it's kind of interesting to watch. But not only that, garlic is a prebiotic, and so is honey. So there is massive amounts of good bacteria in this type of ferment that is so good for you. And I love it around this time of year in October when cold and flu season comes up, because these little pieces of garlic clove, as they ferment, and after a few weeks of fermenting, they start to taste like candy, but they're so preventative of colds and flus because not only are they probiotics, they're also prebiotics. So they change your gut flora really quickly. And I think they're so easy to make. I mean, it's just 2 ingredients, and you don't even need a culture with this because honey is such a powerful way to ferment something. And it really preserves, just like it keeps the bacteria out of the hives. Honey has qualities that keep out harmful bacteria. But there is nothing like having one of these a day to prevent your colds and flus because it really works quite well because of the prebiotics that are in garlic and in the honey. And it's fun to make. So if you want that recipe, just go to my website and type in fermented honey or fermented garlic and honey. I've got 2 recipes. I've got a fermented garlic that's just fermented garlic and water that has a culture with it. And then I've got fermented garlic honey. And they both are really powerful in helping you not only prevent colds and flus, but also changing your gut flora in a really powerful way. And it's really fun to watch them because they will ferment and bubble and hiss. I mean, I opened my jar today. It was on my counter. And I took it over to my daughter to let her listen to it because it's making a crackling noise because there's so many prebiotics in there that it makes the good probiotics in it grow like crazy, and it makes a lot of noise. And you can see it in the jar too. The honey thins out. It's really interesting, and it's so good for you. And it's fun to make, and it's super easy to make. And you can just make a little jar if you want. You can make a big jar, and it will last on your counter for like 6 months. I like making these types of things, especially when fall hits. And basically, they taste so good. I love to eat them. I mean, they're crazy. You wouldn't think that garlic would taste good, but it does. The honey ferments it, and it tastes wonderful. Another way to get a really fast way to reset your gut flora is juicing greens. It can be one of the fastest ways to really induce a lot of soluble fiber into your gut, because it's interesting. Everybody thinks that the fiber is only in the roughage part, but in juicing, soluble fiber can be in liquid form too, and it really retains that food for your bacteria in the juice itself. And that's why I think juicing has been so effective for so many people in helping them not only get healthy, but to feed their microbiome and really change their microbiome. Because juicing quickly enters into the bloodstream. It kind of hits the body like alcohol does. It does it really fast because there's nothing slowing it down. But there's so much soluble fiber in it that it is a really powerful way to help increase good bacteria in your gut. And I have seen with juicing that I can change my food cravings really quickly by having a green juice. It can just calm you down. You get so many nutrients. Like I said before, it hits the bloodstream really fast because it's in the juice form. So the body's flooded with an enormous amount of nutrients in the greens that it would take a lot to eat all that fiber and get that into the digestive stream. But it does it really quickly when you juice it. And it really can change you rather quickly. And I think that's why so many people love juicing, because it helps so much. Onions and leeks make your microbes grow like crazy. I mean, I think it was Jeff Leach at the Human Gut Project. He's got a great website. I love his research that he's done. And he says he can eat leeks, and he tests the microbiome of people. It's a great place to get your microbiome checked to see what kind of bacteria you have living in your gut. And he checks them, and he checks himself all the time. And he says that he can have leeks for lunch and change his microbiome dramatically in just that one meal. So he tries to have them often during the week because they really help him to grow a lot of good probiotic bacteria in his gut. And it's interesting. You can just lightly saute the leeks, and it still retains their prebiotic fiber. If you cook onions or leeks too much, they kind of caramelize and turn to sugar, so you lose some of the prebiotic effect. But just lightly sauteing them retains all that. And that's a great way to have them. I had leek soup this afternoon for lunch. I love putting leeks in my soup. I make a soup. It actually has, it has leeks, carrots, tomatoes, little cherry tomatoes in it. I put black beans in it. I put mushrooms in it. Let's see what else. I have a whole bunch of vegetables. Oh, spinach and garlic. And I put coconut oil in it, some broth. And it is the most filling, most delicious. Oh, and a little chili powder. I put a little, not chili powder, cayenne pepper. That's what it is. It's a pinch of it. And I made that this weekend for my daughter. And when she was over, and she took some home with her. And it's one of my favorite things because it's a real thick, hearty soup. And I do it all the time. And I use a couple leeks in it. And it's one of my favorite recipes to have for lunchtime because it just tastes so good. It's filled with everything your microbiome loves. I have a recipe on my website called Carrot Cake in a Jar that is really, it's just carrots, apples, dates, and spices. And I think it's got walnuts in it too. I think I put walnuts in it. And oh my gosh, you just ferment it for a couple of days on your counter, and it is so, so good. It tastes like carrot cake, and it's a vegetable, and it is loaded with prebiotics because apples are prebiotics, carrots are prebiotics, and all of them feed that microbiome. And just like a spoonful at lunch, it's one of my favorite things. I take it to my classes. People love it. It has a marvelous taste that and picky eaters like it, and it's fantastic for just have a spoonful for lunch, and it changes your microbiome. Some other prebiotics that I not only do I love, but are helping me tremendously are different fruits like berries and apples and lemons. And berries and apples and lemons can, really change not only your food cravings, but your blood sugar, and it helps. They have special components in them that are really essential for having lots of energy, giving your body fuel in a specialized way. They're not overly sugary, so they really are one of the greatest ways to fuel your body and to help reduce food cravings for sugar foods and for processed foods. Berries are powerful for that, and so are apples and lemons. They do that in a great way. One of my things that I've had all week long, every morning for breakfast this last week, I have this thing called frozen lemon kefir. And I have a jar of kefir, and I take a frozen lemon out of my freezer, and I just grate it with a microplane grater that does it really, really fine. And I grate the peel, and I grate the inside of the lemon, and it's the inside of the lemon. And you guys, you can't believe how fantastic this tastes. And frozen lemon is so good because you get the peel and the inside of the fruit, and it has this flavor that I can't even describe it. It doesn't taste like, you've squeezed lemon into your kefir. It's different. It has this wonderful flavor that I absolutely love. And actually, my daughter Holly's been having it too because she likes it so much. It's a quick and easy breakfast, and I like getting a lot of lemon in the morning. I think it helps boost your immune system. And that recipe is on my website too. And don't freeze your lemons because the peel has so many benefits, but most people don't want to eat the peel. But when you freeze it, it tastes fantastic in your kefir. So that's another tip for you. That's something I do all the time because I love it. Making a kefir smoothie with fruits, that can make such a difference in your day. And I have so many recipes in my books and on my website for smoothies. And I have some kefir puddings for breakfast that are wonderful, made with oatmeal, overnight kefir puddings that I absolutely love to eat in the morning. And oatmeal is a huge prebiotic. And one of the wonderful things about oatmeal is oatmeal creates some bacteria in your gut that helps consume cholesterol in your body. So, they've always done a lot of research saying that oatmeal helps lower cholesterol. Well, it also manufactures bacteria in your gut that consumes cholesterol as a food source, naturally lowering your cholesterol. So oatmeal is a great thing for your body and a great way to change your body. It's I have so many recipes for oatmeal and kefir. I have one that has cocoa powder, oatmeals, and almonds and coconut flakes, and I just put it in a jar overnight. And the next day it's ready, and wow, is it good. It tastes like a brownie sundae because the cocoa powder mixed into the kefir and the oatmeal kind of thickens it with the almonds and coconut, and I just absolutely love it. I have another one that's a strawberry cobbler that's got strawberries and a little bit of vanilla and oatmeal, and I have a blueberry one that is oatmeal and kefir and pecans and a little bit of coconut. That's wonderful. And you just make it the night before, stick it in the fridge, the next day you've got this delicious breakfast that's easy on the go. You can just pull it out of the fridge and take it with you, and it's a great way to get kefir in your breakfast. I usually wind up eating kefir in the morning, but sometimes I have it as a dessert in the evening too because I have so many recipes that I really enjoy. And it's just, I just can't even imagine my life without kefir. I really do have it every day. It's just a fantastic food for me because it makes me feel so good. It gives me energy. It reduces food cravings. It's loaded with zinc and vitamin C and B vitamins, and it does so much to boost your immune system. I just can't say enough about it, nor can I live my life without it because it's such an important food in my life. Now, there's another big prebiotic food that has will result in one of the biggest changes in your microbiome in regards to cravings and feeling satisfied. And this one might surprise you, but it's coffee. And I love coffee, but I always thought it was bad for me because, in this day and age, we demonize about every food on the planet. I'm surprised we can find anything to eat. And some people say it's bad, but I always loved it. And I noticed that I would get more hungry if I didn't have coffee. And I couldn't figure out why until I read a book. And it was by Dr. David Perlmutter, and it was called Brain Maker Book. And he had such fantastic research on coffee. And he found that drinking coffee, the reason it makes me feel full and satisfied for hours was that there were prebiotic soluble fibers in coffee that form a gel in your gut that makes you feel full and satisfied. And, it's so important to have a lot of fiber, but I had no idea that they were feeding off of the fibers in coffee. These bacteria were feeding off the fibers in these coffees. And it was actually prebiotic too. And it was making me feel full and satisfied. But that is not all about coffee. There's some research in Germany, and they did studies on microbes and found that microbes love the microscopic fibers in coffee. And as the microbes grow, they cover the intestinal wall and keep harmful pathogens from colonizing. They also lower the gut's pH to an acidity that causes most germs to die. And these soluble coffee fibers are food for your bacteria. They make the beneficial bacteroid microbes experience up to a 60% increase in growth, which is really important. That's a really good bacteria that you want. And the soluble fibers, which are prebiotics, do just so many wonderful things. They improve insulin sensitivity. They allow you to absorb more calcium. They convert some plant fibers into vitamin A and much, much more. So you want that bacteria in your gut. Dr. Perlmutter also talks about coffee, and he talks about a study in Finland which followed 1,409 people between the ages of 65 and 79 for an average of 21 years. And they found that those who drank moderate amounts of coffee had a 65% decreased risk of developing Alzheimer's as compared with low or non-coffee drinkers. And he goes on to say that researchers are finding extensive evidence of protective qualities in coffee. And it all begins with the microbes in the gut and the coffee fibers that they ingest. These microbes can lower the risk for type 2 diabetes, strokes, Parkinson's disease, and even cancer and cardiovascular disease. And it does this by consuming the coffee fibers or the soluble fibers in the brown liquid and using this as fuel to grow and multiply. And they can shift the ratio of bacteria in your gut to the good bacteria. And this shift is also is noted for a reduced risk for diabetes and obesity as well. It also reduces inflammation. And so I am thrilled that I never quit drinking my coffee because I knew something was going on. I just didn't know what. And it all makes sense to me that's why it helps me to feel full longer, or it's just a fun thing for me too. I enjoy it. I love the smell of it. And I actually was sent just not too long ago. They have got a new product called Cultured Coffee, and I'll have to be telling you more about it in the near future. But I tried it. They sent it to me, and they actually are growing this with special bacteria because coffee is a fermented food, but then they roast the beans. And so the coffee is, the bacteria dies because it's been roasted, but they actually grow these beans with a special bacteria to start with that really changes the acidity of the coffee. It makes it a little bit less acidic, but also allows it to have more good bacteria in it. It was delicious when I tried it. I loved it. So I'm interested to find more about that. I don't know fully all how the process works, but I was interested in finding out more about it because I do enjoy coffee. And boy, was this coffee delicious. And it smelled so good when it was cooking on my little pot in the stove. It was just, I'm thinking, I want to learn more about this. Coffee is something that you can also do even if it's decaffeinated. So if you get the jitters or if that bothers you. And we also have coffee kombucha, which is just absolutely crazy bubbly because it's a prebiotic food. And I just couldn't believe how bubbly my coffee kombucha got. My daughter came up with coffee kombucha. She was the one who developed it. And I never knew that the fibers were feeding the good bacteria. And it was really delicious. And you can find that recipe on my website at culturedfoodlife.com if you're interested. Now, if you're not a coffee drinker, there are wonderful alternatives that have tons and tons of prebiotics in them. And we actually had a special coffee. It was called Faux Coffee that helped heal my daughter's gut when she had IBS, along with cultured foods. And it worked so well for her that the product is wonderful. The lady was making it. I loved this coffee. It was called Faux Joe's. And she quit making it for a while. I think she moved and transitioned, and now they started making it again. And it is loaded with prebiotics. It's made from chicory root, which is one of the biggest prebiotics. Dandelion root. It's got cinnamon and coconut in it. It's absolutely delicious. And I think it was really key in helping my daughter overcome her IBS because she had a cultured food at every meal, but she also drank a cup of this tea. And I really believed it helped the good bacteria grow and multiply, which ultimately led to her healing of just, oh my goodness. She had so many food allergies, and this actually turned her life around. And now she doesn't have food allergies, and it's been many, many years, but it really healed her gut. There's another alternative to coffee. It's called Takino Herbal Coffee. That also is similar to the one I was talking about called Faux Joe's. And it's a blend of barley and dandelion root, chicory root, and all of those are prebiotics. And they're delicious too. And you can get that on Amazon or at local health food stores. It's a wonderful prebiotic coffee, that alternative to coffee. It's not coffee. It's more like an herbal. They call it an herbal coffee. But it would really help your gut if you've got problems and don't want the caffeine. Another way to get a lot of prebiotics is to add a powder version. We sell something called Prebio Plus. It's wonderful. It's got a lot of the things that are in tea. And it's just a little powder, and you can put it in coffee, tea, your food. I put it in salad dressings. I put it in my ketchup. It helps to feed the good microbiome in our guts. It grows like crazy. You don't need very much. You only need tiny amounts of this. Lasts a long time, and it really does help you to grow your good microbiome in a really powerful way. There's also there's a product called Sweet Leaf Stevia, if you like stevia. If you get the powder version and you get the sweet leaf one, and I'm not affiliated with this company in any way, but I like to tell people about the things I do. But it has a prebiotic in it. It's called inulin, which is it's made out of the peels of lemon and oranges and the skins of these things that are prebiotic in nature. But it's also a thickener, and it kind of sweetens things. And it's powerful, and you can use that in your tea and get a little bit of a boost into your microbiome. And it's something that tastes really good. All of these things that I do help me stay balanced. These are just a few of the things that I do that help, really keep me and my family healthy. And, I've got these hitchhikers, 100 trillion of them in my body, and all of these foods help keep them happy and fed, and in turn, keep me well. You kind of have to understand how it all works. I went to the doctor last week. I have a yearly checkup that I go to, and I'm always so excited when, he gives me back my numbers and they all look so fantastic. And I know that it's not hereditary because my family doesn't always have, good numbers. A lot of diabetes in my family. A lot of people struggle with high blood pressure. And it's just thrilling to me that my body just stays on the straight and narrow. And it's not because I'm taking medication. It's because I'm feeding my microbiome. I believe that with all my heart because I've been living this for 15 years. And my doctor really doesn't know what to do with me when I tell him that, he goes, just keep doing what you're doing. But I tell him it's because I feed my microbes. He just kind of looks at me like he doesn't know what I'm talking about. But that's okay because I'm thrilled that I don't need medications, that my body just does what it's meant to do, keep me healthy, keep me well, but I take care of it. And it is a thrilling journey for me to discover more and more, even as I get older, all the things that my body can do that I didn't know it could do. And when you understand the science, it can really allow you to apply these foods in your life and these techniques to really enhance your life in a better way, because understanding helps you to really allow it to be more effective for you. So don't forget, you're made up of 100 trillion bacteria, and you might as well embrace it and work with them because they're in you and all around you every day. keeping you well, working on your behalf, unbeknownst to you, 24 hours a day. It makes life exciting. It makes you feel loved and cared for to know that you're never alone. You always got hitchhikers, 100 trillion of them, and they're there working on your behalf if you allow them to do that. So I hope this has helped you this week, and I hope you have a good week and have some prebiotic fibers, some fruits and vegetables, and maybe a cup of coffee and a few other things. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one.